What is going on, Player Profiler Nation? It's your boy Jason. Welcome into the very first episode of Wake and Take Overtime. We're starting to do this with a lot of our shows where we are doing an extra segment after we go live, chatting about one extra topic. And today I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been eating at me a little bit, especially these last few weeks. On the Trade God show, as you know, Thursday nights I host with Maddie Kiwoom, my Trade God brethren. We, of course, are breaking down some trades. And one thing I've started to realize is just that some trades just don't make a lot of sense. They're a little bit too muddied up. There's just a lot of factors that go into trades that I think a lot of people just don't understand, don't get. And so I kind of wanted to walk through proposing a trade, what it should take, how to do it, how to make both sides happy, and all of that stuff. And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and invite you into the world of one of my home leagues, and I'm going to try to propose a trade and kind of walk through what I do when I'm doing this. So why don't I go ahead and share my screen? We'll start with, well, we'll walk through my league a little bit. We'll walk through my league a little bit first. This is my home league. It's called, well, it used to be called Kev Tyricium because of the people who left. But last year, one of our prizes for winning was you got to change it. And so now we are the Reese fan club. And no, Reese did not win the league. It was our man Dan who won the league, but he just, he likes Reese so much in the league that he decided to name it after him. Let me go ahead and put my Wake and Take overlay on too. But this is kind of some stuff. I've been putting players on the trade blogs. This is, of course, our chat. But this is my team. I'm the most powerful being. Fun facts about this league. And you tune into or check out the game plan episode where I talked with Maddie Kiwoom about league structures and commissioning and all that stuff. This is actually just an 8-team league, but it is fairly deep rosters. And, it's just a home league with my friends. So, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. But, one player I really want right now is, unfortunately, I got stuck with the 1-2 in this league. I traded for a bunch of first-round picks last year, and I ended up with Jahmyr Gibbs. But I, of course, if you guys have ever turned into a Wake and Take episode, know that I love the Falcons and know that I want some Bijan Robinson. And I know the guy in this league that has Bijan Robinson does want Jahmyr Gibbs. So I figured yesterday I actually sent him an offer, and it was massive. And I realized I kind of broke one of my own rules in it. But this is actually what I sent him for Bijan Robinson and Jameson Williams. But let's go ahead and talk about the rule I broke, because I'm now looking at this trade, and it's just too much. It's not too much for me to send, probably. I didn't even put it into a trade analyzer. Jameson Williams and Bijan Robinson are just some guys I want, and I'm already over the roster limit, so I figured I'd just throw him a bunch of crap. But it just seemed like too much for him. He doesn't want to part with both of them in a trade, and that is how things go, but I don't think people realize that enough. So since I want Bijan Robinson, I shouldn't also try to get another player on his roster that I want. I should just be trying to trade for Bijan Robinson. And that's my first rule when trading, is if there's a player you want, just trade for that player. Stop trying to throw in other players. Like, just get the player that you want. So in this case, I just want Bijan Robinson. And I already mentioned that I want to try to add to Jahmyr Gibbs to get it, because I know that he wants Jahmyr Gibbs. And we're talking about 2 rookie running backs and all of that. So that's a really good starting point. And to show that it's a good starting point, one thing I like to do is just, I always like to make sure I come correct with my trade offers, especially if you're just sending it out blindly, and especially if you're trading for a superstar. So what is the difference? 102 lifetime value points is actually a massive difference, and it's fair. So that means I've got to add a lot to Jahmyr Gibbs to get Bijan Robinson, even if I don't really want to. So let's go back to this. All right, so if I want to send for a running back, I like to start with this, right? So if I'm trading for a running back, I always like to send at least one of that position back. And so I've, of course, started with Jahmyr Gibbs. But then I like to look at my roster construction. And so one thing I do a lot, and I think that is a valuable strategy, is try to get whole backfield. So I already owned Alvin Kamara, so I made sure to draft Kendre Miller. I already owned Kenneth Walker, so I made sure to draft Zach Charbonnet. I already owned Raheem Mostert for some reason, so I got myself Devon Achane. Granted, I wanted Devon Achane anyway, but still, just to stand the point. And because I own those backfields, I don't want to split them up. I don't. So I'm going to look at some of my other running backs on my team that I don't necessarily have the whole backfield for. That's James Cook, who I do think could end up being the bell cow anyway. I'm not a big fan of Damian Harris. And then I've got DeAndre Swift. I don't have Rashad Penny. I don't have Kenneth Gainwell. So I think that either of those guys could be added. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do that because I already have Breece Hall. I already have Kenneth Walker. I've got these Saints running backs. I've got Isaiah Pacheco. I've got the Dolphins running back. DeAndre Swift and James Cook are good young running back assets clogging up my roster. So now we can go back to the trade analyzer and we can see, all right, now that I've added Swift, now that I've added James Cook, how are we looking? And now I'm actually overpaying for Bijan Robinson because of lifetime value points. And this would honestly still be an offer that I would totally send for Bijan Robinson. But like I said, I want to come correct for my first offer. And I already kind of muddied up my last offer trying to throw Jameson Williams in there. So I'm going to keep it like this. Even though I'm already overpaying, I'm not going to stop there because one of my biggest rules, if you are trading for a player like Bijan Robinson, like a Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson, you have to overpay. And yes, I am overpaying via the trade analyzer, but I'm also clearing up 2 roster spots, and he's going to have to figure out a way to get rid of these roster spots. So only an advantage of 77 points isn't enough, in my opinion, to get Bijan Robinson. If I owned Bijan Robinson, I would want a bigger overpay. So I'm going to look at his roster now, and I see that he has some young wide receivers, right? He's kind of stacked there. He's got a ton of quarterbacks, even though it's a 1-quarterback league, so I don't have to split up my quarterbacks. And he's pretty decent at tight end, too. And this is an IDP league who he's also pretty stacked at. He's looking good at every position. So what can I do to make this even sweeter? I could throw an extra cherry on top. And for him, I'm going to make it my second-round draft pick in 2024. And I think that this is probably the offer I would send. But again, I want to make sure that he's happy. So I'm just going to throw one more cherry on top, and that's just going to be KJ Osborne. And that's what I'm going to send him for Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, James Cook, KJ Osborne, and a second. Sent. So now that I've added the second, let's go ahead and go back to the trade analyzer and see what kind of overpay I've given this guy. Here we go, 123 point overpay via the player profiler trade analyzer. That to me is a fantastic place to start, and we'll see how it goes. I imagine, I would hope that he would accept it. This is a fantastic offer. It really is. But, the roster construction for him could get in the way. Like, he might just not have a room for all these assets. I'm going to go ahead and withdraw the one that had Jameson Williams in it. And this is, so just my Bijan Robinson trade is there. And hey, since I also want Jameson Williams, I'm going to go ahead and send him a separate offer to try to get Jameson Williams as well. And we'll see what happens, right? But again, I do think that splitting up the assets that I want is the best way to do this, right? It's just the best way to do it. Why make it a trade for Bijan Robinson and Jameson Williams when you could work out 2 separate trades and just make sure to get on the same page about value that this guy likes, that your opponent likes. So one thing is, I tried to send him DK Metcalf yesterday. He did not like that. So I kind of switched it to Christian Watson. He seemed a little bit more interested. Let's check out the trade analyzer again for this. What is the difference between Watson and JMO? And also an important note for this league is IR does allow suspended players. So Jameson Williams is actually a little bit more valuable than this shows because it's also Jameson Williams and technically a roster spot while he's suspended. But Christian Watson for Jameson Williams is a massive overpay already. So what I'm going to do is just try to find something kind of small that I could add into this to make me feel happier. And since I own Breece Hall, I don't have much Israel Abanikanda, so I'm going to see if he'll throw that in there. And that's just going to be enough for me. I'm going to overpay. I have a ton of Christian Watson exposure in a bunch of other leagues already. So I'm going to try to get Israel Abanikanda off of him on top of Jameson Williams for Christian Watson. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm definitely overpaying here. But again, if it's a player I want, I'm going to have to overpay because that's how you get it done. So instead of, I think I basically sent this package and Luke Schoonmaker and Christian Watson uh, for Bijan and Jameson Williams. That's not the case anymore. It's now just two separate trades, and that's the best way to do it. So to kind of bring this all home, when you're sending out a trade offer, especially blindly, make sure you come correct. Make sure you A, overpay, and B, don't muddy it up by adding in other assets. If you are trying to upgrade your assets, you should only be trying to do it for really one big name player. If you want a superstar, just trade for that superstar. Don't add another one in there. Two trades is the best way to do that because it's easier to analyze that for both parties, right? It's like I'm trading away Bijan Robinson. What do I want? Oh, this is a good package for Bijan Robinson. Okay, I'm trading away Jameson Williams. What do I want? Oh, okay, this is a good package for Jameson Williams. You don't want to combine it. It just makes it too difficult for both parties. And again, you want to come correct. You always want to check the trade analyzer. And you perhaps maybe, especially after sending out these trades, DM the person and say, hey, I've sent out this offer. I think it's a good offer, but let me know what you think or give me some feedback, because that's how negotiations should go, right? You should just send out an offer and then ask for some negotiations, especially with the superstars, because you have to give that player a reason to trade away their studs. You have to give them a reason to do it. They're not just going to accept a fair trade. So, make sure you discuss it after you send that offer as well. And don't be afraid to overpay. Don't be afraid, because it'll all work itself out in the end. It really will. So guys, I hope that was a good crash course on sending out a trade offer in your leagues. And I hope you can use some of these skills that you've learned going forward in your own leagues. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.